Hello guys, how are you? Welcome to happy 1st of July, Tuesday. It's the beginning of a brand new month. We've got some pretty compelling news to kick things off today. Could be positive for some altcoins. And just recently a piece of information surfaced courtesy of Cointelegraph, among others, indicating that the SEC has formally acknowledge an amendment. Now, this particular amendment is pretty significant as it relates to the conversion of the Grayscale's digital large cap fund into an ETF. Now, for those of you that have been following the crypto space, you probably remember the excitement when we first heard of the potential approvals of the Bitcoin ETFs. Not so much Ethereum, but that was because the ETH ETF didn't allow staking, and that's why the ETH one didn't really take off in the same way that Bitcoin did. But this Grayscale fund, however, it's a bit different. It's a diversified basket, if you will, includes Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, Solana, and Cardano. So we're looking at a broader spectrum of digital assets, potentially gaining this institutional access. And that's why we saw these take off last night on the release of that news. So this was the news that got released last night. Cointelegraph, among others, broke the news. And then we also saw this one where it says SEC delays the staking decision for the Bitwise spot ETH ETF. So that's kind of like 50-50 there, right? And the big question, I guess, well, actually, no, even before I tell you about that, we can see here that the US SEC has until Wednesday, July 2nd to rule on the request to convert its digital large cap fund into a spot exchange traded product. And we can also see here that currently the fund is exclusively available in private markets. However, if approved as an ETF, it would be listed on major stock exchanges, making it more accessible for regular investors to buy and trade a diversified mix of top cryptocurrencies in a single investment vehicle. And I saw on one of these articles, it talked about the dollar amount. Yeah, here. As of June 27, the fund had nearly 762 million in assets under management, according to an update on Grayscale's website. So the big question there is, what does this mean for the charts? And more importantly, what does it mean for your potential trading opportunities? So that's what I'm going to dive into in today's video. We're going to do some live technical analysis on these particular coins. I'm going to show you some key levels, patterns, and what we should be looking for next. But before we get stuck into the charts, if you appreciate this kind of timely market breakdown, please do hit that like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people. And as you guys know, if you've been here for a long time, I refuse to pay for subscribers like most other channels are doing. So it does mean that our growth is extremely slow, but it's organic and I prefer it that way. So if you're new to the channel or you just simply haven't yet, consider subscribing and turning on your notifications. That way you won't miss any of our live sessions or our market updates. I can see you guys already asking me in the comments, is it a Rise 1 retrace? I'm going to get to it. We're going to get to all of the coins. I actually want to see, I don't know if I can do it. Let's try together. Like, I'm literally learning YouTube live with you guys. I want to see, how do you do a poll? Is this how you do it? Yes. Okay. Start a poll. So what do I want to ask you? I want to ask you, which has your biggest interest out of, wait, it's not a yes, no. Oh, no, I can write what I want. Okay. So ADA, let's do XRP. What else is in there? Solana. And what's the other thing that's in there? ADA, XRP, Solana. Oh, ETH, of course, ETH. And I think, and Bitcoin's in there too, right? Oh no, you can only do 4. Okay, so you guys vote on that because I want to know what has your biggest interest. We don't want to share it, otherwise will change their algo. No, they won't. You guys don't really, people say this to me all the time. And oh wait, I wasn't sharing screen when I did that. Anyway, you guys say to me all the time that we will have to change the system if too many people learn it. You got to understand that this trading method that we trade here on this channel comes from Forex, and Forex has been around a hell of a lot longer, and it's a much, much larger audience than crypto is. So if it's been safe in Forex for many decades, you best believe it's safe here. Wait, did I not share the screen on any of that news? That I think I didn't. What an idiot. Anyway, whatever, whatever. Now I'm going to actually share the screen and we can talk about some of the altcoins that are in this thing. I just want to check. What are you guys voting on? Solana, 38%. Oh, Singularity, thank you for the donation. That's very sweet of you. Oh, no, I did share the screen. Look at me. Okay, I did it right. I did it right. I'm the worst live streamer, guys. I'll get good. Don't worry. I'll get better at this. Don't worry. It's a process. There's so many buttons on this side. And then you've also got to entertain people and you've also got to concentrate. And I don't have like a behind the scenes person helping. So that's why it's a bit of a hot mess now. But before I do get into the altcoins, I actually want to talk to you about what happened with the Bitcoin ETF and just a bit of a quick recap on what happened, because there was some pretty significant things, I think. So basically what happened was back in the end of August in 2023, Grayscale won the court case against the SEC. Now, at that time, like, it doesn't look like much now, but if you zoom in on it, at that time, Bitcoin was at around 25K, right? Casper says we're good now. We have two screens. It's like Casper knows it's hard. It's hard on this side. We're trying to be professional, but we're kind of just not. And maybe we should just roll with not being professional. Like maybe that's our brand. But anyway, so this is where we kind of started, right? So when you look back in time, the bottom of the bear market was 15K. We had this consolidation for a long time, which is typical. That's the accumulation period after the bottom of the bear market. And then we started hearing, whispers about a potential spot Bitcoin ETF. Then we had the SEC declined to appeal. And that was really, really bullish for Bitcoin. So we hadn't had the approval yet, but just the fact that we had the decline to appeal, that's what made people bullish. And we saw this move to the upside. Now that's similar to what happened last night. And it's why the markets moved on that news, because the amendment sort of gets people to draw the conclusion that it's likely to be approved next. July B says, wait, did I misspell her name? How does she spell her name? Anyone? Annii is how you spell my nickname. My real name, that's another story. Anyway, so that's what happened. And then eventually we had the approval here in January of 2024. We had a buy the rumor kind of pump. Pretty normal. We had buy the rumor, sell the news, yes. And then we moved up. And when you actually zoom out on Bitcoin, basically ever since then, it's been in a macro uptrend, right? It's been very, very good for Bitcoin. And we know that Bitcoin's been a great performer so far this cycle. Now, when we compare that to the Ethereum one, we had the applications here. And that was, again, a buy the rumor, right? So that's when ETH had its decent rise from about 2 grand to nearly 4K. I think it just touched on 4K. But after that, just really nothing exciting happened. The approvals happened here in July, and it actually sold off pretty massively. And the only other pump we had was because of the upgrade, not necessarily because of the ETFs. So then you have to ask yourself, like, what's the difference? Why did Bitcoin take off and ETH didn't? And now we know that the purpose of these ETFs are two different things. The Bitcoin ETF took off because it allowed serious investors access to Bitcoin, which is what they want. They just want exposure to Bitcoin. But with the ETH one, it's not about exposure. They want a yield, and they can't get it with the ETF because the ETH ETF doesn't have staking. So that's why it's not just about whether or not a cryptocurrency is going to get an ETF. It's more about, like, what would an investor want out of that? That makes it interesting to them, right? And that's why there's a lot of talk about the Solana one as well, offering staking, because it's almost like Solana has learned from the mistakes of ETH. So the Solana one, I think something happened last night. I think they said it was going to be approved, but it's not officially approved unless that happened overnight and I was asleep. I'm not sure. But if the Solana gets the staking, that should be very bullish for Solana, because then again, it doesn't have, sorry, the ETH one doesn't have that. But then there's also amendments to the ETH one, which, like I showed you just before, are currently delayed. Okay, so these are the things that are going to make them bullish long term. Okay, so the learnings here are basically that what makes a good ETF is if they serve the purpose of why the investor would want that or access to that cryptocurrency, right? So Bitcoin ETFs, investors wanted exposure to Bitcoin. That's why it's been successful. But for ETH ETF, investors wanted yield, can't get it. Therefore, ETH hasn't done much since the approval. But like I said, they're working on the amendment. So who knows what the future holds for ETH. But that's not even really the point. The point is we have to think about, why would investors want this basket now of cryptos? And the answer for this one will also be exposure to the crypto assets within it. So that's why this was bullish, and that's why we saw that move on these cryptos last night. So I want to do two things. First, we're going to chart the assets within the basket to look for potential buy zones. And then I wanted to, well, actually we're going to find out if they're even bullish, worth buying. And then I want to chart two speculative alts that haven't had ETF announcements yet, that we may be able to get a position on in anticipation of a future announcement. How does that sound? Are you guys happy to do that? Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, I'll I don't know, I'll just go load the dishwasher. And if you haven't hit like already whilst you're doing that, be sure to do that. Love the live. Finally caught the live. Go Sol. Any good trader. Beautiful. Best combination. Good to see live on Twitter too. Yeah, sometimes it connects, sometimes it doesn't. Again, I don't want to be a technician. I just want to look at charts all day. I hate when tech goes wrong. I really hate it. Actually, someone in the community, I saw a comment on one of my videos that said, Annie, when you have tech issues, ask us in the community because someone might be able to help you. And I'm so used to living my life alone and figuring out my own shit, but you're so right. I really should just go into the community and ask for help. I know you guys will help me. I'm going to do that next time, but fingers crossed there are no more future issues. All right. Okay. Bring the alpha. All right, let's go and have a look. So I'm going to start with XRP. And look, when we look at XRP on the daily time frame, it's very obvious that it's in a flag. Okay, it's in a flag after an uptrend. That is a continuation pattern. It should break out. It's a very bullish pattern. I'll tell you what my red flag is about it. It's not a huge red flag, so don't get carried away. But my red flag about it is it's a daily time frame pattern. And the problem that we've had so far this cycle is that most patterns on the daily time frame don't play out to where their technical target should be, because most alts just don't run long enough to hit their daily time frame targets, because we keep having Bitcoin dominance continue to rise and create higher high after higher high. So it's very difficult. You see a really nice pattern. It should be an obvious sign to buy, but we're just not hitting targets. Like this flag here, if it breaks out, the target should be back to the top of the flag. That's, it's a pretty long way. And we have to wait and see. Like we would need a sustained alt season, I guess, for that to happen. But I will also say that I've always said I don't think we're going to get an overall alt season. Okay, I've been saying that till January, since January. Now, basically, everybody's jumped on board and acting like they said it first. Whatever. That's what happens when you're a small channel and nobody hears you. But the moral of the story is that I believe, and I think, and my belief comes from the fact that this is what has happened so far this cycle, is that we have had narrative-driven mini alt seasons the entire cycle instead of one overall alt season, okay? SK says, WTF, 30% of people interested in XRP. I was better impression of TTC community. SK, where you are mistaken, my friend, is in believing that they care about the fundamentals. They don't. The reason that they're interested in XRP is because they have been trained well to care about the price action and what the chart is telling them. And like I just said to you, this is a very bullish setup with a very good risk to reward. That's why 30% are looking at it. They don't care about fundamentals. They care about price action, a good setup, and good risk to reward. That's why you're seeing that. Good. I'm proud of you guys. Well done. So anyway, point being, the problem with this is in order for us to reach daily targets, we would need to have probably the next mini alt season narrative be ETFs, and it probably will be. Okay, it probably will be. But does that mean we're going to get to our daily time frame targets? Don't know. All we do on this channel is we chase liquidity. So the problem is, not problem, but currently the data is showing that the highest liquidity zone for XRP right now is sitting between 2.3 to 2.4. Okay, so here's how I personally interpret what is happening on this chart. It's definitely a bullish chart. Is it bullish back to here? That would only happen, I believe, if we get an extended cycle, meaning the cycle is due to end sometime around October this year, September, October, okay? XRP has been consolidating for years, haven't even reached all-time highs. Well, most alts haven't. Most alts are still at their bear market lows. You know what I mean? That's just another opportunity. But anyway, so what was I saying? Oh, I lose my train of thought when I read your comments. Price action means nothing. Utility is key. Good for you, man. You trade liquid utility. Look, utility is key if you have a multi-cycle plan. I agree with you. If you have a multi-cycle plan like Pedro does, utility is absolutely key. I actually love Pedro's way of thinking when it comes to altcoins. It's changed my way of thinking a lot. Let me just go on this rant before we continue with XRP. Because I tell you how I interpret Pedro, what Pedro teaches on this channel, and I might be wrong, but this is just how I interpret it. Pedro thinks like a really long-term investor, and he doesn't care about the cycles. He just buys in small amounts incrementally, and he uses his technical analysis skills to know where to buy those dips. But his plan is probably a decade long. I don't know how long, but it's definitely a multi-cycle plan. And for me, I've always just traded technical analysis. I don't care about fundamentals. So for me, technical analysis has always showed me that you can get massive percentages in a bull market, but with alts, you will get a 90 to 95% drawdown when the bear market hits. And as a technical analyst, I don't want to hold through that drawdown. But him as an investor, he doesn't worry about that. He's just continuing to buy because his goal is very, very long term on the things that he likes, okay, on the things that he truly believes in. I'm going to probably do a separate video on this because Pedro and I had a very interesting conversation last night about the chances of an extended cycle. And right now we have opposing opinions, and I don't really want to say what it is until I've done more research because I feel like I'm not quite educated enough to make a public opinion on it, but I do want to make a public opinion on it. But anyway, point being that I actually really like his approach. If you are someone who believes that whatever cryptocurrencies you believe in, if you think they're going to be around multi-cycle, then it's very different to how I approach markets, where I go, okay, I feel like the bottom of the bear market is in. I feel like we're in the accumulation phase. I'm going to build a list of coins that I want to hold for this cycle, and I'm going to start buying in the accumulation phase when they look like they're bottoming out against their BTC pair. That's basically my strategy, right? And then we're riding that through, hopefully, until we end up in alt season. But I don't hold them after that. I scale out, and my goal is to be out of alts by the end of the cycle. I keep some, which I call a moon bag. Like I would keep maybe 10% of what I think is really good and has the potential to last multi-cycle, but I'm not holding onto a lot. Pedro has a different way of doing things, where if he believes in something multi-cycle, he doesn't care if it's going up or down. Now he has a very long-term plan. and he will just continue buying at the times that he feels are right for him. Now, there's two things though, right? If you are somebody who doesn't have a lot of disposable income, how do you keep buying through a bear market when it's dropping 90%? Okay, so this is where you have to think about, does your situation match the person's situation that you're watching on YouTube? Someone like Pedro has a lot of disposable income. So for him, he doesn't have to worry because he has, or he's allocated an amount of money that he can just keep putting into the crypto market over a long period of time. He's worked his finances out to be able to do that. Not everybody has that luxury, right? Not everybody has disposable income that they can keep putting into the market. I saw someone in Discord quite some months ago now, but she said that she didn't want to walk away from this cycle having made nothing. See what I mean? That's a short-term plan, right? That's someone who needs isn't the right word, but that sort of a statement is somebody who is hoping to make something this cycle, potentially to cash out, to then hopefully reinvest in the next cycle and whatnot, which is the way that I do things, okay? That's good for someone who doesn't have disposable income, but the problem is, if you don't have disposable income and you need to use the profits of one cycle to reinvest into another cycle, you need a better skill. That's the thing. You need to be highly skilled to know when those times are to buy, to be able to read technical analysis really well, to know when to sell or scale out. You know what I mean? So apples and bananas, man. I don't know. Like, you have to pick what you want to be. And there's a part of me that's like thinking, I'm probably going to adopt a bit of Pedro's strategies for this cycle. And the reason why I think it is because the alts really haven't performed all that well. Like, most of them are at still pretty crap prices this late in the cycle. So you can accumulate them pretty cheap. If they're another 90% drawdown in the bear market, is it going to affect my personal life? No, because I do have disposable income, so it's okay. But again, I wouldn't throw money at it that I thought could go to zero. You know, like, I'd have to think there was some hope in it before I do that. But anyway, that's probably all for another video, but I just wanted to explain it to you because the reason why it's relevant to this XRP chart is because whilst the chart looks bullish, the fact that it's a daily time frame chart and we haven't seen, you know, a extended alt season in anything. Most of these little mini alt seasons have lasted between 3 weeks to, I think, 12 weeks has been the most, okay? So in 12 weeks, do you think that XRP could get back to this high here? That's the question you have to ask yourself. And I personally don't. Like, if you're thinking that the cycle will end, I mean, I shouldn't say don't. Anything can happen. But if you're thinking the cycle should end at its due date, do you know the due date for the cycle ending is the 6th of October? Do you know what else is on the 6th of October? It's my daughter's birthday. And my daughter drains my wallet more than anyone else I know on the planet. And I feel like the bear market starting on her birthday, it makes logical sense to me. It really makes logical sense to me. Just taking away all my wealth. But anyway, look, the problem is, do we think, wait, how many from today? In 97 days, could XRP get back to at least here? Yeah, probably could, but we'd have to have, Dashka says okay then. We'd probably have to have like some serious volume come in for it to happen. Now, again, being the daily time frame, if we had an extended cycle, so a lot of people are saying that an extended cycle could take us to Feb, which is 215 days, which gives us a lot more time to get back at least to here and then potentially create another high right from there. That's more likely, but it's really going to depend on whether we get the extended cycle or not. Again, I don't want to discuss whether I think that's going to happen or not on this video. I'll save it when I'm a bit more educated myself. But looking at the pattern for what it is, it does look like there is a potential for a W to form here. And the reason why I'm thinking that, or hoping for that, is because look at this. So see how I've marked this liquidity zone right here? This is the highest amount of liquidity that XRP has right now, above and below price. Let me show you. Let me show you here. Okay, see that? See how bright yellow it is? So that's the highest amount of liquidity. Now, if XRP wants to break out and be bullish, it's going to need to build up the momentum to get through all of that liquidity, because liquidity is just an order in the opposite direction. So when liquidity is, because it's liquidations, right? So when liquidity is above price, it's sell orders. So think of this as shorts. That means the buyers are going to have to be stronger in order to break through this zone and liquidate these people. So therefore, they build up that momentum below the price. And when you look at this candle here on the daily time frame, see that wick right into the trend line? That's not momentum yet, okay? That's a first stab into the zone, and it's showing, because of the way not the first, sorry, it's the third, but it's showing, it's the most recent, it's showing still that the sells in this zone, so the liquidations in this zone, are still very heavy and very strong, that the current buyers building up underneath price aren't enough to push through it. See, here we had a rejection, here we had a rejection, and here. So in 3 attempts, they haven't yet built up the momentum to get through it. So therefore, that's where you see it come back for a retracement. So it comes back, it tries to build more buy orders, and if it can build more buy orders, we will then break through it next. So I think this is a very good setup on the daily time frame. My worry is the targets, and you would just have to take that as one high at a time. So you would see what price does here, you would see what it does here. This is going to be a very important one if we can get back to here, because of the reaction after that initial move. Like just have a look at that. That is super high volume to push price up that much, got immediately met by sellers back down. So that's going to be like at around it makes sense. It's round number $3. That's going to be very key if we eventually get there. And then of course here, and then beyond if we can break it. But I think this is a very good setup, not immediately right now, but it's absolutely worth keeping an eye on to see if a higher low forms on the daily time frame. That is something that I would definitely take a chance on, especially the fact that we've got this blue vector here forming the potential left side of the W, because then you just mark out the range of that vector. And I swear I try to make my videos shorter, but I just got too many details to tell you and I can't help it. But anyway, the goal is going to be if the higher low comes somewhere here around 2.06, okay, not exactly, somewhere around there. Or it can also come at the bottom, okay? So they're your 2 levels, the candle close or halfway of this candle. So anything there, if we eventually get a higher low, that's going to be a great place to go in, whether you buy spot or leverage. That's up to you. That's not for me to say. But that is where I would then anticipate that they have built up enough buyers and they will then break through this zone next. Once they break through it, new liquidity will build. We have to refresh this liquidity. We have to see where it is next, and that becomes the next target. It's really that simple. Okay, so now, actually, no, I wanted to show you, let me get rid of this heat map, because I want to show you something on the, hang on, let me just do this. I want to show you something on the 1 hour time frame for this, for shorter term. We're not complaining with more alpha. All times highs, not athletes. Interesting. Happy birthday to your daughter in advance. Okay, so this is my current count on the shorter time frames for XRP. So we had this, we had a V bottom. It's definitely a V bottom. See how this was the vectors for the level 3 drop. I explained this on Sunday, so I won't waste time on it again. If you didn't catch my Sunday video, you can learn about V bottoms on that video. But this qualifies as a V bottom because we recovered the level 3 vectors straight away, okay? And then we go into the level 1, consolidation with a pullback, level 2 through here, which is a pretty weak level 2, but level 2 can be weak because it's retail. And then we had this strong move last night on the release of the news, which created level 3. Now we have closed back under the high of the week. So this is a weird pattern, but the moral of the story is that in my opinion, on the 1 hour time frame, the 3 levels have played out, and it looks like we are potentially trying to change structure. When I say potentially, we don't have a lower high to confirm it, and we don't have consolidation either. We literally just have a sell-off, like we just have almost 100% recovery of the level 3 move. So what you would be looking for if you wanted to trade XRP, what would be perfect would be now that this does continue 3 levels down into this zone here. And that's how you marry up the levels, right? So if you got 3 levels down on the 1 hour time frame and it came somewhere in this zone, that's going to equal the daily time frame right side W. And when you get that, that's when you get confluence in the different time frames, and that's when you start to build the idea that, okay, a lower time frame 3 level drop is just a retracement of a higher time frame bullish pattern, and that should give you a lot of confidence to go in. All right, that is hard to do in the moment. If you want to do it, we do that together in TTC. This is my focus. I focus personally more on what the higher time frames are doing, because I like to try and get the big swings for the community. And then our other traders in the Discord, they focus on the weekly setup and the daily setup to help our traders trade more so that they can learn faster. So there's a big mixed bag inside the Discord. It's not just one thing. Actually, someone said to me on Twitter, another rant coming, sorry guys. Someone said to me on Twitter that I teach so much, I give so much away on Twitter and YouTube that they never need to join my community. And what you don't realize is that what I give away on YouTube is probably 10% of what we give away inside the community. And that's not that I'm holding anything back. It's that the system is so involved and so in depth. There's so many things to know that it's impossible to teach it all publicly for free. So if you really want to learn this, if you've been watching for a while and you think, hey, this system is pretty accurate, it is a 48-hour money back guarantee. Do you know what I mean? If you get in there and you're like, this sucks, which hopefully you don't. And if you do, like, tell me, because I would want to improve. But you can get out. So you may as well, you know. All right, anyway, let's go to the next one. What did I want to cover next? So I did XRP. Hopefully there's no questions. Does XRP all make sense to everyone? Michael says the community is great, definitely. I don't know how to say that name. Says amazing. Oh, someone's asking about the heat map that I just showed. Yeah, that comes with the membership. It's not a public thing. But you can get the same information on CoinGlass. You just can't add it to your chart. That's the only thing. It's a perk of the membership. All right, let's have a look at Solana. And that data comes from HighBlock, and they did that especially for us as a favor because we're good mates. So yeah, anyway. Okay, now Solana, actually I might have to redo this one. So I'll tell you what I don't like about Solana. Let's zoom out on it. I know the Solana lovers, so I'm not judging. I'm just talking about price action. Solana had its big run up, okay? Had a big consolidation, tried again, created a multi-session M formation on the daily time frame, and it's almost like that was Solana's time to shine. Like after that, it hasn't really done much. I don't like that Solana is really struggling at this daily vector right here. So see here, it's attempted once. That's a huge sell-off. See, exactly the same story what I told you about XRP when it tries to return to zones. Here it's tried, here it's tried. The more times it tries, eventually it will break through, but only if the structure remains the same. So last night, when I drew this up, I was thinking this is potentially bullish. But it's also not. And I'll tell you why. So last night, my thoughts were that when you draw the fib on this move here, this retracement came back to the 61.8. So that's pretty decent. But the problem with the 61.8 pullback is that the target is only back to the 0, which is back to this vector candle, which is not actually positive because we want to break through it because we've been here so many times. In addition to that, There's huge liquidity at that exact same area, which is, again, like I just explained to you on XRP, it's going to trigger sells if we get into there. There's also big liquidity here, which it looks like it's entering now. So therefore, I want to refresh on that because I just want to see how it's sitting right now. Yeah, okay, so you can see how it's entering that right now. So look, the problem, and see how this is the highest liquidity right here. So the thing is, if this pulls back and takes out this liquidity, that would be okay as long as the candles close bullish after doing that. Like you got a hammer, you got a railroad track, star formation, you know, a bullish engulfing. Like if you got something like that, which it's going to take a couple days because it has to enter the zone first, that would be okay and it maintain the structure. But if we don't get that, then it's possible that it comes down for this next, and that is going to turn this into a bear flag, which then means we're at risk of this. So it's not looking great right now. Look, really what I should say is it's really 50-50 because it really depends what happens in this zone at 144 to 149, okay? Keep an eye on that. If you get bullish closes, it might be okay. If not, you know, last chance would be this zone, but if it breaks through that zone, it's coming down further. And again, maybe if we zoom out on it, no, I'm not going to say that because I don't believe it. But yeah, anyway, moral story is if we get those bullish closes, that's when we would feel a little bit more confident that, okay, it's maintaining structure. It may bounce here and then move up into here. But this zone here is still going to be where you have to decide if you're taking profit on it or you're going to hold because it looks like it's going to break through. So that's at 178 to 183. And yeah, we have to judge when we get there. But on the daily time frame, I don't like the setup for Solana. When I really zoom out on it, you compare it to XRP, it doesn't look the same, okay? If we go down to the, wait, what do I want to do? Solana, I think I want to go to the 1 hour. Actually, what I'm going to do on Solana. So, okay, so on Solana, now when we look at the levels, again, I have my 3 levels played out on the 1 hour time frame. And we seem to be selling off into the liquidity zone. One thing Solana might do is hold the 1 hour 200 EMA. If it does that, that's another part of our trading strategy. It's more of a day trade one, but that would be bullish. So I won't go into details about it, but the moral story is you got to keep an eye out on the 200 EMA on the 1 hour because it's in the liquidation zone. So when I said to you, look for bullish candlesticks, if it happens around there, then that pullback on Solana is likely to be over. But if it breaks down below it, the pullback's not done yet, okay? But I want to have a look at the recent liquidation levels on this because it's going to give me a better idea. Hang on one second. I have to investigate. Okay, so... yeah, I think the 200 EMA on the 1 hour time frame is a good one to watch and make a decision on Solana. Another thing to watch is because it's now had this move down through here and it's broken the 50 EMA. Let me get these lines off because they get confusing. Another thing is that, yeah, because it's broken the 50 EMA with volume, it's possible that it now tries to make a retracement to the 200 because a retracement to the 50 because that is also around the current high of the week. And if it does that and there's weakness there, there's more downside coming and it's likely coming to take out this liquidity. Okay, so that's what I would be looking for on Solana. It feels like that's the more likely play, but you also have to watch the 200 EMA idea. But this one I feel like is probably more likely because the levels are more important, okay? And also because I can, yeah, my personal count is that the 3 level rises have played out. Let me just see if there's any questions before I move on. Claudia says the TTC membership is worth every penny just for the indicator alone. I think Sol is already in a bear trend. It doesn't look great, honestly. But look, it could be that it's just pulling back into an official announcement. If that announcement hasn't happened yet, I don't know. It could be a thing. And like when you have a look at Bitcoin as well, don't forget that once the ETFs were actually announced, there was a pullback before it then continued the uptrend. So we could be in something like this for Solana. So it's bearish now, but that bearishness could be an opportunity if you're somebody who wants to stack Sol for a longer term picture. Okay. That again is just, that's a personal decision. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Let me just check these comments. Okay, yes, you guys are understanding. Perfect. So whilst you're in that momentum of understanding these chart movements, I just want to let you know that it's absolutely essential having the right platform to execute your trades and perhaps even gain a competitive edge is equally important. That brings me to our fantastic exchange sponsor, Bitunix. Now, I'm going to let you in on a bit of a secret. We're currently running this trading competition and there's only a few days to go, but I want to tell you a cheeky little secret. We made this competition to give everyone a chance to win something, not just the highest volume traders, because usually when you enter comps, the winners are people who trade the highest volume. And so I went to Bitunix and I said, no, I want to make sure everybody can win something. And so they said to me, all right, Annie, if you want to do that, we can do that, but you and your community have to reach a certain volume as a community in their whole to unlock the total prize pool. Guess what, guys? We did it. The trading volume has reached the target that we had to do together, and we've unlocked the total prize pool. So there you go. TTC community never lets us down. It goes to show that even in this environment, there are trades to take. So what this means is that anyone that's participating in this comp now gets a slice of the pie. Besides getting a 20% trading fee rebate for life, if you join Bitunix using the link in the description of this video, have a look at what else you can get if you then also join this comp. So there's two links. You would have to join Bitunix using the link in this video. And then there's a second link that tells you how to join this comp. There's only a few days left, but you can still join it. And you can get these deposit bonuses here. And if you trade on it over the next few days and reach some of the volume rewards, you can unlock some extra rewards. Now, look at this. We made this on purpose. The rewards are paid out in pretty cool altcoins. So they're paid out in XRP, Sui, Link, ADA, Doge, and HBAR. And 70% gets distributed proportionally to the top 20 by trading volume, but 30% is equally shared amongst the remaining participants. So that's how we did it to make sure that everybody gets at least something. It feels good for participating. And yeah, if you want to be part of it, there is still time, not much time, because only a few days left, ends in 4 days. And you can just join with the link in the description down below. All right, yeah, you guys do rock. LFG, I agree. Let's go have a look at Cardano. Whilst I'm finding it in my watch list, if you haven't hit that like button, I massively appreciate it if you could, if you're getting value from this video. Okay, so Cardano is a similar situation, kind of looks a bit similar to XRP. But there's just no volume coming in from it yet, which is a bit of a problem. And the liquidity zones are very close to where the price is now. So whilst we're in this daily time frame flag, this is the liquidity zone, like literally where the price is now, between 1.53 to not 1.53. We wish Cardano was 1.53, from 0.53 to 0.55. And look, again, we could enter the zone, we could take out that liquidity and create a higher low, and that would actually be bullish pending the candlesticks closing bullish in that zone. Why? Because look here, the liquidity zone, hold on, wrong thing. The liquidity zone is basically to the bottom of the candle closes of what may end up being like the first peak, right, of a potential W. So there is a chance here for ADA, but it's not confirmed yet. You have to wait to see if we do enter the zone, what happens there. And just because you can see that on the higher time frame, And again, like if we get that and we go up, we've got to get through this zone first. And there's actually something I think could happen in that zone. So this is what could potentially happen. Again, knowing there's a lot of liquidity above price, knowing it's going to need momentum to get there. So if Cardano did come in, right, and it did take out that liquidity and give an opportunity for a good entry, you would have to reassess what it does through here. Now, by the time it comes through, it might touch up against this trend line and it may reject there again. As long as it created a higher low after that, you would then expect again that it's just building up the momentum to then break through to go for this liquidity zone. Okay, so all of that happening is what would make you bullish on Cardano, but it's not there yet. But what it does mean, because you can see that on the daily time frame, it means you then go down to a lower time frame and you look for evidence of something like that potentially happening. Now, with Cardano, I don't like the lower time frame price action. And but it is what it is. I'll tell you why I don't like it. The first rise is obvious, okay? The V bottom is obvious. We pushed through, we created the high of the week. All of that is definitely level one. We had this really ugly price action through the weekend. We opened with the false move that gave us level two. It's possible that this is level three that took us back to the high of the week. That's absolutely possible. And now we're selling back down and we know this liquidity zone is here. Let's have a look at the levels around where price is now. And okay, so there's a lot of, look, this makes sense to me. There's a lot of liquidity here, which makes sense because even if you don't trade our trading system, other people would see that's resistance. Okay, so as at resistance, you short, stop loss above, or if you don't use them, which some people don't, your liquidation level is going to be above. So this liquidity makes sense. Since then, people are shorting because the price is retracing. That makes sense. This liquidity down here is from people who longed previously. Okay, so they would have longed somewhere through here potentially or through here, and their liquidation levels are down here. And that looks like what we're coming to take next. So again, on a higher time frame, actually look at this. This is perfect. What created this spike low level one was a pretty large vector with a very large wick. Okay, let me just mark it out. What that means is that now, if I'm correct about the counts, which I'm not 100% sure if I am, but if I'm correct about these counts to the upside, and we're now expecting 3 levels down, as long as the price doesn't return to this area of interest, it will create that higher time frame, higher low. So something like this could happen next where, let me draw it out, where this is a very weak, if it's going to be a level one drop, it's very weak. It doesn't exactly fit the criteria. If we had something like that, we could have 3 levels down to take out this liquidity, potentially create the higher low here, because see how we spiked into that area of interest once and then we moved out, we were bullish after it. So we may not come all the way back into it again. So you're looking at these 2 candles here for your zone. If it takes out all that liquidity and you get bullish closes there, that's going to give you the higher low on the daily time frame. And therefore you would take the aggressive entry and just watch those levels that are already mentioned to you. That would be best case scenario on Cardano for me. I would like to see it come and take this liquidity first before I consider buying it. Otherwise, I don't like this price action. And if I didn't get that deep of a pullback, well, to be honest, I miss out. Like I'm not going to chase something if I don't get what I want. If I just wouldn't get involved. That's my answer. That's my answer to that. Sorry, guys. All right. What else do I want to cover? Okay, let's do Ethereum. Now Ethereum has been giving me a bit of trouble too, actually. So Ethereum on the daily time frame, obviously, it's pretty obvious, okay? This was a downtrend. We have a break. We're in a board meeting ever since. The board meeting, if you understand them, is where, when you understand this, look, okay, let me tell you the difference. In traditional technical analysis, people don't pay attention to consolidation because it's sideways, there's no trade, blah, blah, blah. When you understand how to trade like market makers, the consolidation is the most important price action to watch because it gives you a hint of what's going to happen next. So let me briefly explain a little bit of that. In the consolidation, which we call the board meeting, you are trying to get an understanding of who the market maker is trying to trap. And the understanding comes from the wicks. Okay, so you're looking for where the candle closes mostly are, both above and below the consolidation. So when you have a look at that, you can see that earlier on in the consolidation, there were many wicks to the upside. So that meant it was trying to induce long traders, okay? Breakout traders. Breakout traders are always the target. So never be a buy stop and sell stop person. So basically above here is where people would have buy stops who are breakout traders. They don't want to trade the consolidation. They want to trade when price breaks out of the consolidation. So they just put automatic buy stops. The price wicks up, enters them into a trade, and now they're committed, goes nowhere for a while, and then look what happens here. It stops them out. So when that happens, you know that the damage to these people is done. So this candle right here shows you that the damage to these people is now done. The market maker has collected his positions by doing that. And when I say his, I'm talking about an algorithm, not a person, just to be clear. So now, I call him his because it's mean. But anyway, not really. I just have a habit of calling it his, but it's not a person. For people who are going to be like, oh, it's algorithmic trading. It's not actual people sitting behind a computer like Durfred. Okay, hang on one sec. Okay, so now that the damage is done, we have to assess what is going on next, because there's another thing that can happen, which it's going to get too detailed if I explain it. But when you're in consolidation for a long period of time, which this is a daily time frame, so yes, it qualifies as a long period of time. Like, look at this. Okay, 31 days. How fun for Ethereum traders. If they're not getting the commitment that they need, they do this other thing called widening the range. And that is to induce more traders. So see how we spiked up here? They would have been trying to induce longs in these weeks, couldn't get it, gave us a bit of a stronger move, probably got it, and that widened the range. So job done. Same thing then to the downside. They've widened the range now to the downside. That means they're collecting more contracts because they didn't get what they needed first. All right. So that's very important to know because it tells you a big move is coming once they have accumulated what they need to accumulate. So now we have to really keep a close eye on this zone here for Ethereum. It's possible that they extend either down or up one more time. Why? Because look at the two major liquidation zones. They're exactly below and above the range. So I can't tell you which way it's going to break out, but when it breaks the new widened range, that's going to be where you are looking to get involved in the trade. Because if, let's just say it breaks down into this and it looks like this, that's where you want to go long. Okay, so you're looking for candles exactly like that. High volume, closes as hammer, bullish engulfings, etc. That's going to be your best area to buy. Not to mention, it will be a higher low on the daily time frame compared to this. And it's going to be probably around the halfway mark of this candle. Let's measure it out. Actually, hang on. Wait, what am I doing? Wait, here. Let's measure out halfway of this candle. There you go. See, right halfway in that liquidation zone. So that's about 2020-ish. Okay, so if we're lucky enough to get another spike down and it closes like this, like a volume move out of it, that's going to be a daily time frame higher low, and it's going to be a very good spot to get involved. Okay, that's what you're looking for. Why am I bullish rather than bearish when there's liquidations both sides? Because of the rise. This is a rise 1 on the daily time frame. This is consolidation. According to the method that I trade, we move in levels of 3. So there should be a follow through to the upside from this, obviously pending economical news that wrecks everything, which is what happens all the time. Okay, so that's where I will act. I'm not personally looking for shorts for that reason, but that is where I will act on a long. If it gets invalidated, then I just simply don't act. Okay, now let me see. What else did I want to tell you? I can see people asking about the memberships in the chat. Just to show you, there's a link in the description of this video, takes you to this website. I will say, actually, guys, there is no other way to get in contact with us. If you like, we have a free Telegram, which is down in the description as well. We have the private Discord, which you can only get in if you have a membership. Even if you join those two things, with the way those platforms work, there's no way to stop DMs on the creator's end. We can't stop who DMs you from those groups. Only you can. You have to turn your settings off. So just know that it doesn't matter what you join. The official links are only in the description of our YouTube videos, number one. If you join any other way, you've probably joined a scam. We will never contact you first, even if you've joined our official Telegram. If you ever get a DM from someone pretending to be me, even if, like, there was this, let me see if I can find it on Twitter. Some guy sent me this and was like, I'm going to expose you. I'm going to post this on every video and everyone's going to know. And I was like, dude, I'm just going to post this myself because it's not me. But let me see if I can find it quickly. I post too much. I won't be able to find it. But moral of the story is, now AI has gotten so good that it can imitate my voice. It can even do video. Like, the video doesn't look anything like me. And if you get one and you think it's me, I'm offended. But it's not just me. It's happening to a lot of creators. So it's up to you. You've got to be smarter if you want to be in crypto. Just know that we and no representative of TTC will ever make contact with you via DM. Even if you contact us, we will not respond via DM. The only way to get in contact with us is by having a membership, number one, or contacting us through our website. There's an email there. Any other emails are not real. But anyway, if you are interested in, there's a couple of membership options. You can check out the official website link in the description of this video. Okay, now I promised you that that I was going to give you some wild cards. So let me know, are you, dear Fred, that cracked me up. Let me know if you're interested in the wild cards. Otherwise, I'll go and do something else. Let me know. Yes, no, maybe. Jolly personality. Sometimes. Emily says, love this channel. Thank you, Emily. All right, let's talk about the wildcards. So first of all, you can see the list here, okay? You can see, if you're wanting to know what other altcoins are up for potential approval, there's this article here that, you know, shows you quite a few of them. And you can basically go through that. So really what I'm looking at is the ones that have the most. So not just one application, but the most, and that are under review currently. So one that I found was, I got to remember what it was now. I think it was, what was it? I think it was Doge. Let me just check my notes. Yes, it was. Okay. Hang on. Wait 1 second. Yeah, it was Doge. Okay, so let's have a look at Doge, because even the price action on the daily time frame, look, again, we've got this very similar to XRP. Okay, we've got this flag formation. The problem with Doge is the highest level of liquidity is above price. But again, when you zoom in, what that could mean is, when you look at where the liquidity is, if we eventually get into it, it could be another touch to the trend line. So when you learn traditional technical analysis, again, just to be clear, I don't trade these. I mark them to understand how retail thinks, but I don't trade off trend lines. I trade off diagonals. So when you can line the liquidity up with a retail trend line, that's where you understand that volume has to come through to break that line, okay? And so then you start to think, well, how's it going to come through? And that's when you think, okay, we have to build momentum. So what's happening now is potentially that we've had the first rejection underneath this high liquidity zone, but we have a vector candle here, and that gives us the potential for Doge. Even this one here is the most important. So that gives the potential for Doge to come back into this area because that's where there's high volume. All right, come back into this area, pick up new orders. If it closes as the higher low and you see strength out of the zone again, that's where you would expect that it's now built the momentum and it's going to break through that zone next. When do you hang on to it? You hang on to it if that's successful, you would hang on to it once it breaks through the zone, because at the same time, it will break the retail trend line, which means that's when retail will jump on because they trade breaks of trend lines. And so you want to anticipate moves happening before retail gets involved, because then they drive your trade to profit faster, right? So we're always trying to get in anticipation of what we think the herd is going to do next, right? So if that happens, then you would expect that as long as it maintains structure after it breaks the trend line with another higher low, you would expect that it's then going to go for the next high volume area. And again, being the daily time frame, you have to take it step by step because nothing has lasted in a very long bullish trend when it comes to altcoins so far this cycle. And we're still waiting for that to change. So therefore, when you know that about Doge on the daily, then again, you can go and have a look. Did I mark anything on lower time frames? I don't think I did. Let me just... no, but again, so on the 4 hour, you can see that there's a few high volume candles within that area of interest that I marked. We've had an attempt once. So definitely in this zone, probably the top half of it is the area to look for bullish signals on Doge if you're wanting to get in anticipation of hopefully retail jumping on next. All right, the next one, what was the next one on my list? I know what it was. How could I forget? The next one is HBAR. Okay, so HBAR, again, when we zoom out on it, I tell you what I love about HBAR is the target. Because with HBAR, again, when you zoom out, daily time frame, it's a flag. Okay, easy. Liquidity is below at the trend line, the current support line. But that doesn't mean we'll necessarily come and take it. But if we did, I still think that would be okay as long as it maintained that line. If it broke below, we have to reset and it's a no trade. But if we came down to touch into it one more time and we held it and we got bullish candles out of it, that's going to be a really good spot to buy in anticipation of it breaking out next. Why am I so excited? Because the highest level of liquidity is pretty far above that area. So 0.22 to 0.23. Now, what would happen if we were lucky enough to get this is we would come down, we would create like a double bottom. We'd expect the breakout and we'd expect the breakout to run to the 200 EMA. Then we'd expect to pull back. Then we'd expect that's going to confirm the trend. So we would expect 2 more levels, bullish, and that would take us to the liquidation zone. Now let's just draw this out as an example. If we were to get an entry there and have our stop loss under the liquidity and we got to our target, it's a 9-to-1 risk to reward. I'm watching this all day, every day until we get it, until we get confirmation to take it. So just know that I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen. It's definitely one worth looking out for. That's going to be an amazing trade if that level holds, okay? Do you want one more? How kind am I being to you? Oh my God, I've been on this stream for an hour. Time flies so fast. Holy shit, I've got to get off, but I do have one more. And it depends on how many likes I'm getting, which I can't see myself. So can someone tell me in the chat, and also tell me how many people are watching, because that's going to determine if I give you the last one. And I'll give you a hint. I don't want to do the last one. but I know that you're going to want it. Okay. I know that you're going to want it and I don't want to do it. So tell me in the chat. Casper says that setup is going to be juicy on HBAR. So juicy. Let's watch it as a team, Casper, every day. If it happens in Asia, I'm going to be so annoyed. but let's hope we get it. Reese says, smash the likes. Miguel says, I can't hit it again. Trobius says, 445. Miguel says, 1 million. Another wild card. Yes, like. 1,700 watching. Is that for real? I don't believe that. That's crazy. But if it's true, great. All right, listen, I'm gonna do this quick so that we can get off, because it's the people who watch after that complain, not you guys who watch live. All right, so the one that I'm gonna cover, the one that has a potential for this. Actually, what did you guys vote in the end? What did you like most? Wait, how do I see the whole poll? Here we go. 40% Sol is your biggest interest. Dude, that's the worst chart. XRP, I like you people. That's the best chart. All right. The one that I'm going to cover that is up on this list right here. Let me know in the comments what you think I'm going to cover. I gave you a hint by telling you I don't want to cover it, but I know you will want me to cover it. So that should make it very easy for you to guess. I already did Sol. Sol's at the start of this video. You'll have to go back and watch. No. Come on. Guys, you know me. You know me. You know what I will not cover on this channel. You don't get it. Okay, the one that is on the list is Pengu. Pengu. Okay. I don't even know if that's how you say it, because I don't know these things. Yeah, Matt got it. Okay, I'll tell you why I freaking love this chart, because this exact chart is how I used to make so much money in the last bull market. And I'm going to teach you something now that literally happens over and over and over again. Literally over again. It doesn't even matter what you're looking at. This happens every friggin' time. Okay, so this is Pengu. And when a coin gets a Binance listing, you have the fake pump here, okay, on the listing. Well, actually, this is the fake pump, but you have the fake pump. Then you have a very long-term sell-off that creates this rounded bottom. Okay, this is so typical. It happens all the time. If we end up in a parabolic alt season at all, it could even just be a meme one could come back, because let's be honest, like the paid shillers are going to keep pumping meme coins, right? But you can be smart about how you trade that when they do it. So when you see this, you let that rounded bottom play out. Okay, you let it happen, and it takes a long time. This is a daily chart again. So look, when it finally starts the roundedness, hold on, to here, that's 105 days, okay? So it does take patience to do this, but it's definitely worth watching this pattern. After it does that, it creates a resistance, like a resistance zone. And you can see that here, okay? This is where it spiked into, where buyers tried to come back in and it failed, created the round bottom, attempted to reach that area again, failed. The more it fails, perfect, because now you know the zone it has to break through. After it creates that rounded look, it flags. So this is called a cup and handle. And it is a traditional pattern, but it's a good one. It's a good one, and it plays out. After it creates that, within that flag is where you want to get your entry. So for us now, it's too late, but there is a second chance. That's where you want to get that entry. If you understand this pattern and just hunt for Binance listings, and then set a timer to like come back and look at it a month or two later. But when you see this flag happening, that's when you start to build positions within the flag in anticipation of the breakout. Now, the breakout usually goes back to the defined area, okay, which is what we saw happen yesterday. Now, what happens after that is, if this is going to hold, we will get a higher low. Right now, the liquidity, actually, let me look at this again so that we're all looking at where the liquidity is live. Okay, see how high that liquidity is there? excuse me, that's very bullish that it's that high. So don't expect a very deep pullback. But if it comes back into this zone between 0.012 to 0.013, if it comes back into this zone, that's when you're going to drop down to lower time frames and look for evidence that buyers are stepping in this zone, and that's the biggest retracement you're going to get, and you can get involved in anticipation of it doing this next, because it will break the zone next. Now, if we get into that zone and you don't see buyers step in on lower time frames, it's okay, because more liquidity will build below and you might just get a deeper retracement. But either way, this is the beginning of something great, and as long as you can pick the right time to get in on this pullback, wherever it ends up, it will break out next. Okay, so this chart as a trade is looking very freaking good. And then once it happens, your targets are basic, because the sell-off, the Binance listing sell-off, is huge, and wherever the vectors are in the sell-off becomes your targets. So you'll have one here, and then you're just riding the wave depending on how bullish the overall market is, which, as we know, has not been long-term bullish on alts yet, but we're hoping that will change. That could end up being a very big trade, a very big trade. Another one. So HBAR and Pengu, as much as I hate to say it, are definitely the trades of this whole stream to watch. And I'm telling you, they're not ready yet, but keep an eye on the zones that I mentioned in this video. All right, remember, your diligence in research and disciplined risk management are always paramount. Until next time, maintain your composure and your clear perspective. Check out Bitunix if you want to be part of those rewards, and check out TTC in the description of this video if you want to come and join us. I'll see you guys on the next one.